blistering hand speed, two-handed punching power, and all-around athleticism makes him a dangerous prospect.
Ennis with a right hand, but Ennis takes it. Jaron goes to Larry again. No one man should have all that power. Jaron boots Ennis. Round knocking. Yes. Less than a minute left to be.
Good afternoon, America and the rest of the world. Xander J. Hobson here, stand-up comedian, entertainer, director, and producer of boxing documentaries, and internet troll to those who need internet trolling. This here is another episode of Hell for Loving News, the sports segment, brought to you by the Brilliant Artist Movement. Folks, I'm trying to grow the platform, so please subscribe, like this video, share it, and by all means, leave a comment in the comment section because I enjoy checking out the feedback from these videos that I make, as well as exchanging opinions and points of views with you all. Now, if you are a detractor and it is your nature to detract, hey, I encourage you to do that as well. But just know, if you get nasty in my comment section,
Oh, wow! Wow!
I'm going to deal sternly with you.
I said, yo! Knock it the fuck off!
I'm a troll's troll, and trolling me will not be tolerated. So anyway, right, I want to talk about the up-and-coming Philadelphia welterweight, Jaron Boots Ennis. Jaron Boots Ennis, the son of one Bozy Ennis. Jaron Ennis casting a shadow on the welterweight division. And I don't mind telling you, I am proud of this young man, Jaron Ennis. I am proud of any young man who has the discipline and the stick-to-itiveness to be the topic of conversation in the boxing ring like Jaron Boots Ennis is. In my 54 years of being around the sport of boxing, I've seen a lot of guys rise to the championship. Guys like Fearless Fred Pendleton. Fearless Fred Pendleton was the first notable guy that I seen who turned his boxing career around and went on to win a world championship. The next guy that I know of who done the same thing was Buster the Demon Drayton. Now these guys were getting bad breaks, Buster Drayton and Fearless Fred Pendleton. These guys were losing fights that they actually should have won. But young Jaron Ennis, with a Tommy Hearns-like boxing record as he gets closer to the championship. I believe when Tommy Hearns challenged Pepino Cuevas for the WBA welterweight title, I believe Tommy Hearns was maybe like 30-0 with 28 knockouts. And Jaron Ennis, he has a similar boxing record. And again, he's casting a shadow on the welterweight division. Philadelphia is full of great fighters. The most notable fighter to come out of Philadelphia, getting started going back to the 60s and the 70s, was Smoking Joe Frazier. Now, before I done my Joe Frazier homework, I foolishly thought that Joe Frazier was only the heavyweight champion for maybe like about 2 or 3 title defenses. I learned that Joe Frazier was the heavyweight champion for, I believe, almost 4 years. But whatever the case, Joe was the first big-name Philadelphia fighter that I know of. Now, there were a bunch of top Philadelphia fighters prior to Joe Frazier, but Joe Frazier made, I believe it was maybe like about 6 or 7 successful title defenses. He might have made more, but this is the mark of greatness. When a guy not only wins the championship, but he holds that title and makes 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 title defenses. The next really notable Philadelphia fighter that comes to mind was Joltin' Jeff Chandler. And I say Joltin' Jeff Chandler because, again, Joltin' Jeff Chandler, he dominated the bantamweight division. And I'm certain that he made at least 10 title defenses. It might have been more, but I know he made at least 10 title defenses. Then you have Matthew Saad Muhammad, the light heavyweight champion. Matthew Saad, again, not taking anything away from any of the other great fighters, but Matthew Saad Muhammad, he was a dominant light heavyweight champion. This man was indestructible until he ran into the white Muhammad Qawi. Now, speaking of the white Muhammad Qawi, when I was doing my research for this, pulling up great Philadelphia fighters, there was a handful of guys, the white Muhammad Qawi, Sonny Liston, Prince Charles Williams, and a handful of other guys who were included in the Philadelphia championship bracket because they trained and lived in Philadelphia, although they were from other cities. Again, the white Braxton or the white Muhammad Qawi, although we give him credit for being a Philadelphia fighter, the white Muhammad Qawi was from Camden, New Jersey. Sonny Liston, I'm not quite sure where he was from, but he wasn't born in Philly, although he trained here. Same thing with Prince Charles Williams. Prince Charles Williams, if you want to give him credit for being a Philadelphia fighter, I believe he was from Ohio. But again, Prince Charles out of Philadelphia, managed by Marty Feldman and trained by Smiley Haywood, my former trainer. Prince Charles Williams had at least 10 good title defenses. And then you had a whole bunch of other guys who were really good, who won titles. First to come to mind was Terrible Tim Witherspoon, 2 times world heavyweight champion. Then you can't think of Philadelphia greatness and not think about Meldrick Taylor, Olympic gold medalist, junior welterweight and welterweight champion. Robert Bam Bam Hines, Gary the Executioner Hinton, Charlie Choo Choo Brown. A lot of notable guys. In these most recent years, you had a lot of good guys come out of here, guys like J-Rock and Tevin Farmer. A lot of good fighters. But now, the most notable guy who's about to put Philadelphia on the map is going to be Jaron Ennis. Jaron Ennis, in my opinion, is the second coming of the greatest and most accomplished fighter to come out of Philadelphia, Bernard the Executioner Hopkins. Bernard the Executioner Hopkins is my guy, and I don't mean to disrespect any of the other great champions who came out of Philadelphia by putting Bernard at the top of the pedestal. But the reason why I put Bernard at the top of the Philadelphia pedestal when it comes to boxing is because Bernard Hopkins is the most accomplished fighter that I know of to come out of Philadelphia. Bernard Hopkins having 2 boxing careers. Bernard Hopkins, the middleweight champion, making 20 successful title defenses of his middleweight title. Then Bernard Hopkins going on to be 3 times light heavyweight champion. So that is the reason why I had Bernard Hopkins at the top of the Philadelphia boxing food chain, is because Bernard is the most accomplished Philadelphia fighter. But now, we have young Jaron Ennis. A guy who looks, he may rival Bernard's accomplishments in that boxing ring, or there's a strong possibility that Jaron Ennis might overtake Bernard's accomplishments in that boxing ring. But at the very minimum, Jaron Ennis is getting ready to make his mark on boxing and become a part of Philadelphia boxing history. I don't know this young man, but I am proud of this young man, and I know that his dad is proud of him, because it's nothing better than putting a bunch of hard work into your child and seeing your child implement the lessons that they learn at your knee. So with that said, I want to wrap this video up by saying Jaron Ennis is the next big thing that's happening to Philadelphia boxing. And as a guy who's not really into any other sport but boxing, I am proud at the notion that Jaron Ennis is going to make the city of Philadelphia proud again by bringing the championship home to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, I want to say something that's not going to be popular, but I'm going to say it nonetheless. Jaron Ennis is my guy, and Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford are my guys. And I'm hoping that the fight between Ennis and Earl Spence and Ennis and Bud Crawford, I hope the title somehow gets vacated and none of my guys have to fight each other. Now, I know that's a coward's way out, but at the end of the day, I'm getting soft. And I don't want to see Jaron Ennis get in there and put the screws to Earl or put the screws to Terrence. I don't want to see that happen. So I'm just hoping that somehow something drastic will happen and Jaron Ennis will be able to collect the belts without fighting Earl and them. Yeah, I know that would be cheating Jaron Ennis out of greatness. But in all actuality, I don't want to see Jaron Ennis knock Terrence Crawford or Earl Spence out. So, with that said, I'm done with it. Bam!
A little boy climbed an apple tree. He stole an apple, then two, then three. And when he started to climb back down, he slipped and he landed on the ground. Up jumped the devil. Up jumped the devil. And every time he turned around, up jumped the devil and the white knight.